Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 4 of Star Trek Kongo, a Star Trek Adventures actual play using the rules by Modifius Entertainment. I don't really have much in the way of announcements unless you really care about the VTuber thing, so I'm just going to soapbox anyway. So, starting tomorrow, I will be using my new avatar, my new avatar, duh, to stream with and do anything that isn't game mastering. So I'm still going to use Ignitrix here for the game mastering stuff, but anything from video gaming to other collabs with other people, you're going to see a new model, so don't freak out. Really, I only think I had that to say for the time being, now that I think about it. So why don't we just go ahead and do player introductions and we can get started proper. So let's start with you, Captain Lee.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew. I play Captain Lee Tobin, a Bajoran on his second command, and he will probably be appealing to the prophets quite frequently given his intense religiosity.
There you go. We're finding new ways to say it.
Hey guys, I'm Aaron. I play Commander Datig, the first officer of the USS Kongo. Also, if you'd like to see me in my natural habitat, check out Monday night's chaotic Fallout Motley Heights game.
And where is that, Aaron?
Hurt that you consider that your natural habitat now. How quickly you betrayed us.
Oh, don't
I was gonna
make
say,
a mountain out of a
I feel
molehill.
slighted.
Don't make a mountain out of a molehill.
Dag.
I thought we meant something to you.
I love you guys.
I'm Watney. I play the Chief Medical Officer of the Congo, Dr. Alel, the Genobulan.
And I'm Dag. I play Congo's resident ex-Borg / augment. Tonight's going to be a whole lot of fun, and if you want to talk about it afterwards, you can find me at
Trek Nexus on Twitter.
Bingo number 2.
Go bother him for me.
All right. And if you don't know me by now, I'm ELH the Game Master, and I believe, Mr. Fives, you have a very brief supplemental log to get us started.
Indeed I do. Tactical log supplemental. After we discovered some kind of alien intelligence that has advanced what used to be an industrial society to warp capable almost overnight, Captain Lee has called for a conference to discuss a plan of action. On the table, do we let these people go about the way that they have chosen? Do we intervene? Because this is way too crazy. End log.
All right. And with that, we're going to go to the Congo A's conference room, which I think we've only seen once or twice before. But anyway, all of the senior staff is here. That includes Commander Datig, Dr. Alel, Captain Lee, Lieutenant Fives, and Commander Tivna as well. Now, since this is mostly going to be you guys talking, I will simply interject with Tivna when I feel it is needed. So feel free to run your own meeting.
And I think having convened the officers in the conference room, everyone has assumed their stations, and Lee has provided a few packets or data packets that summarize the information that was obtained from the installation or the monitoring installation on the planet. Having disseminated it, he would then open the floor to the assembled officers. Ladies and gentlemen, we, I think, have aggregated all the data that the watch post has actually been able to provide us. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's pretty clear to me that the Prime Directive here kind of supersedes everything. If we intervene on behalf of either party, we potentially disrupt balances that were created, and we have no right to interfere.
The populace does seem somewhat divided, but generally favorable towards the relationship that they've worked out with this visitor, Gabriel, the artificial intelligence on board this sphere. We don't technically have a right to interpose ourselves in a diplomatic relationship between this planet and its visitor.
Forgive me, Captain, but I have to disagree. As someone who has been boots on the ground, forcing civilizations to bend the knee to the Borg, sure, these people may have made leadership agreements between each other to sacrifice their convicts and their disabled, but it is cruel nonetheless. We can't allow them to do this. What happens when they run out of that stock? Who's going to get sacrificed next? Who's going to make that decision? And when the life on this planet dries up, where does the sphere go? And who comes following it?
Fives, I know that you feel for these people, and I know that we all do. But you're speculating. We have no evidence that this Gabriel will depopulate this entire world. No empirical proof, and I believe that you are allowing your personal experiences to cloud your judgment.
You're probably not wrong. But do you want to tell the 39,000 lives at Wolf 359 that if we started preparing for the Borg earlier, their kids could still be here?
But we're not talking about Wolf 359. We're talking about this planet now.
I think I am uniquely suited to be here, to be heard here.
I have no intention of ignoring you. But you took part in the assimilation of how many people?
Too many.
And you're now ready to impose your will upon billions upon this planet. Is that different?
If a Starfleet vessel with the power and capability to stop the Borg from assimilating a world that wasn't part of the Federation, would you intervene?
We're not talking about the Borg assimilating a world. We're talking about, as distasteful as it is, trade, barter, information for lives. It's not right, not by our standards, but our standards do not apply to these people.
And what happens when there's another situation that's worse, that does involve a Federation world?
You're speculating again. Speculation.
It's valid.
But still speculation. We cannot alter the course of life for billions of people based on a hunch.
To interject, I can understand where you're coming from, Fives. You are uniquely positioned in this situation to understand things that none of us really know. But on the topic of interference, the sphere did discover the duck blind. So is that considered breaking the Prime Directive? Was that already something the Federation had done? And if the answer to that is yes, it knows about us, and
that might explain how they got a warp-capable ship in orbit.
And I think at that, Tivna's going to kind of interject. I hate to repeat what Commander Dotig has said, but that's still in the realm of speculation. Everything I'm seeing of their sensor readings, all the sphere had access to is their power systems, no computer systems or anything of the like.
Nonetheless, that does put us in a rather morally precarious position. After all, in whatever small way, the Federation's listening post on that planet contributed power to the operations on board that sphere. The humanoid or Basant isolinear chips, the chattel slaves, if you will, on board that vessel, in a way, even if it is minuscule, it is our responsibility. Now, Mr. Fives, I do appreciate that your perspective on this issue is unique because you are unique. Your experiences are, and I value that perspective. Nonetheless, my people understand a great deal about chattel slavery. We spent decades under Cardassian occupation where our lives were as meaningless as those that are being turned into grist for the mill, turned into objects for this machine to use. Whether that's a legitimate and, well, literal machine or the Cardassian Union's economic engine, to me that doesn't make very much difference. And the Federation chose to leave my people to their own devices. We had to free ourselves. Would you have advocated for intervention in a war with the Cardassians?
The kind of intervention that you're talking about would have saved lives, but it would have robbed your people of that struggle. It doesn't make it right. But how many worlds out there discovered that the Federation existed while they were under duress and the Federation did nothing? Can we speak for all of those?
What if we were to make ourselves known formally, officially, democratically to this situation, to both parties, and simply say, we're here. What we see could be a cause for concern, and here's our card.
But our card for what, Doctor?
Well,
When the sphere abandons this world, if they reject it, if it abandons it, and they suddenly find themselves without the means to power their cities, are we then responsible to come in and provide for these people in perpetuity?
perhaps. We do live in a post-scarcity society, Commander.
Yes, of course we do.
We've
But-
never been responsible, but we've always offered help. In the midst of the greatest conflict the Quadrant ever seen, the Federation came in with help to Cardassia Prime, the traitors to the Quadrant. You think Ensign Prin would be on the ship right now if he hadn't been given the opportunity?
Mr. Fives, you're speaking of established powers with which the Federation had pre-existing contact, not disrupting the natural flow, despite however unnaturally they're going about it. Disrupting the flow of a world who has chosen this path. We are not gods, and it is not incumbent upon us to tell others what is right. They must discover it for themselves.
How long had we been observing them with the duck blind?
Is that a question for me?
Sure.
Tivna kind of looks at a pad and goes, looks like we've been keeping an eye on the Basan for about 2.5 years, and Sphere showed up not even a year ago, according to these logs anyway.
Not even a year ago.
And, oh, sorry, go ahead, Bonnie.
I think the Federation gave up capital punishment a long time ago. We don't have the right to choose if somebody lives or dies. I struggle to think that these prisoners and such are willfully choosing to become fuel for the sphere.
That said, Doctor, while we may eschew capital punishment as a legal recourse, aren't we then proposing to take the lives of all the people on this planet into our hands, to declare what lives should be spared and what lives should be taken? If we deny the sphere access to these condemned prisoners, and as odious as it may be, mental patients and other disenfranchised members of their civilization, we're choosing to save their lives in favor of people who would be born, people who survive because of the new medical treatments that are being provided by the sphere.
What if
Every
we were
action
able-
we take always results in, well, lives being saved or lives being lost. We can't abdicate ourselves of that responsibility.
Can we sleep at night not intervening? I don't know what my answer is. What if we provided them another organic source of fuel, something replicated that wasn't a sapient creature? We don't fully understand the situation because we're not in it.
When you're raising kids, you do your best to make sure that they don't get hurt. But if you can recognize that they're in a life or death situation they may not even know about, you step in.
We are not a parent.
You may not be a
And-
parent.
No, the Federation is not a galactic parent. I share everyone's concern. What is happening on the planet disgusts me on a moral level. But at a certain point as officers, when we swear oaths to Starfleet, we're agreeing to follow a certain set of behaviors regardless of the way we feel morally inside. Because without that, we do the wrong thing for the right reason.
Or the right thing for the wrong reason.
And Dr. Allel is quite right. We do not understand the situation because we are not in it. And to make any decision that affects the life of one, much less billions, without having a fuller understanding, is arrogant presumption.
I can accept that.
We are all arrogant from time to time, Commander.
Yes, we are. Arrogance on a small scale is one thing. Arrogance on a planetary scale is quite the other.
You voiced a contrarian opinion, Commander, and you did it well. So what do you think we should do?
I think that those people are constructing a warp-capable ship. Nothing ties our hands from opening lines of communication with their government within the boundaries of our own protocol. But I would hesitate to reveal ourselves to the populace in general. The anthropological data from the planet suggests the populace is already divided. If those dissatisfied with the sphere's presence find out that there is an alternative, that the government is not sneaking, it may erupt in violence.
Commander, while I appreciate your perspective on initiating first contact, typically, first contact procedures take years to implement. Teams of diplomatic specialists and cultural analysts are used to identify key figures within the governmental structures of a world, its economic and sociological base, to ease that transition. I would be loath to move so quickly, although I do recognize perhaps its necessity in light of the current conditions and the fact that lives are being lost daily.
Yes, well, I'll also just state that I was simply asked for my opinion. I know the weight of this decision is going to weigh heavily on you either way it goes, but I believe that we may be able to cut down on some of that lead time. We have 2.5 years of observational data at that duck blind station that we've transferred up to the Congo's computers. Let's begin to dissect what they observed. Particularly, I'd like to see reports from the site of the sphere's contact, which was indicated that one of the observation team was nearby or may even have been present.
I've also seen that the sphere apparently communicates with the denizens of this planet on a regular basis. The next time that occurs on its regular schedule, I would like to try to monitor that exchange. Let's see what we're actually dealing with.
Captain. And this is the complication, by the way.
Yes.
About that. The sphere is hailing us.
Everyone, you're dismissed to the bridge.
Yes, sir.
Do you want me to write it in here before I go, Captain?
No road to the bridge, please.
Aye, sir. You also did get a momentum, so you're technically a cap. But we're now going to go to the bridge of the Congo as everybody filters in, takes their stations. Let's see, let's get print on there. Who am I missing? Fives, and good old Alel. And I guess Tivna is technically here as well, so I'll throw her on there. But yeah, as you all take your seats, and Tivna goes behind the communication/MSD console, she says, whenever you're ready, Captain.
On screen.
All right. So what appears on screen is a mostly opaque image, and I'm going to put the token on the screen and you're going to get what I'm going for immediately. But in the middle of this opaque image is this sort of glowing eye, like an artificial eye, that is very reminiscent of Hal from, well, you know, Space Odyssey, whatever it was, 20-something. But it's one of those things where the eye doesn't say anything at first. It simply sort of winks in and out as if trying to judge who you are through the view screen.
And I think with that lingering silence, Lee would rise from his command chair. This is Captain Lee Tobin of the Federation starship Kongo. We're on a mission of peaceful exploration in this area of the quadrant, and picked up signs of this race developing interstellar capabilities.
The eye pulsates twice, but no audio.
Commander Tivna, is it receiving our signal properly?
I can confirm it is, sir, yes.
Universal translator status?
Operational.
We have monitored communications and historical records pertaining to your relationship with the people on this planet. I believe that you are addressed colloquially as Gabriel.
Now at that, you actually get a reply. Now I'm not going to turn on a voice modulator because effort, but if you will imagine, not quite like a Shakari voice, you know, the holy god voice or however you want to do it. It's similar in nature, but there's a key difference where the god of Shakari that we see in Star Trek V, you know, very commanding, very upfront, very angry. This just sounds more like a weary old man. And, I mean, it's still sort of echoey and omnipresent, but what it says is, yes, Gabriel is what they call me.
Based on our observations of this world, we had hoped to potentially enter into a diplomatic dialogue with you.
You mean to suggest a first contact of sorts? Well, second contact, I suppose I was their first contact.
That's correct. And first contact with you, as a representative, I assume, of another species.
I winks about 3 times, and right at that moment where you're starting to wonder if it's not going to speak, it actually does, and goes on to say, I do not know my original creators, I do not know my purpose. All I know is that I must continue to function.
You refer then to some form of embedded programming instinct that drives you to secure your own continued existence.
If you are implying that I have sentience, yes.
Can we potentially offer you assistance if your amnesia, to use an anthropomorphic term, is due to some form of damage to your superstructure? Perhaps we could assist you.
And at this, Tivna mutes the comm for a second and says, Captain, it's trying to scan us. Should I let it through, or...
No. Block it.
Recommend yellow alert, Captain.
Not yet, although it has made a slightly hostile gesture in attempting to scan us. I don't want to be provocative.
And Tivna says, ready to unmute on your command, sir.
Do it. If you require information regarding our capabilities, our vessel, we may be willing to share it with you. However, deep penetrating scans of our ship are not invited.
Interesting. All of the species I have encountered in my eons of travel, they all, well, some were hostile, but most were inviting. Seems you might be one of the former.
I believe that you have misunderstood our intentions. Caution in the face of a first contact is generally warranted. One of our highest laws, our greatest maxims, is that we don't wish to disrupt the natural evolution of another species. If you were to gain access to our internal systems or scan that technology on board our vessel, you may gain access to information that would disrupt your own development. Our offer of assistance is always rendered in recognition of the fact that that kind of disruption is oftentimes destructive to all parties involved.
Eye pulses once, twice, third time, and then the image winks off, and Tivna reports, terminated at the source, sir. And if anybody was paying attention, that was the entire time it would have normally spoken with the planet. So my guess, based on what I'm seeing here, the planet didn't get its daily scheduled call, which could start causing problems.
I'll start monitoring their comms lines.
And yeah, since you're at full momentum here, I'm going to give it to you for free. To say things are a mess right now, Fives, is an understatement. This is the equivalent of, and don't take this analogy too far, but this is the equivalent of height of the Cold War, a silo not reporting in on its scheduled sort of report. So there's a lot of panic. There's a lot of high government officials chatting back and forth. Everybody's trying to figure out why the sphere didn't talk them today.
Captain, there's planet-wide chaos erupting on their chatter. Everybody is seemingly panicking about this lack of a scheduled event occurring on time. Given what we know about these people and their adherence to regimentation, they're probably worrying that the deal has changed.
And of course, the sphere is likely to inform them of our presence the moment it has the opportunity to communicate with them tomorrow.
Are we so sure about that? It might be advantageous to its own position to not inform the inhabitants of an outside party.
It may just as well try to rally the inhabitants to launch an offensive.
Unless we make contact first, and I think we can safely say the Prime Directive is null and void.
I agree with the doctor. We have inadvertently very much disrupted this society. But I wonder, the scheduled nature of these broadcasts, this contact, an entity that seems outwardly to be so advanced, yet why can it only communicate for a few minutes a day? It almost is reminiscent of a patient on life support, conscious only for brief moments at a time, conserving their strength all others, speaking only when necessary.
I will say, despite the fact that it claimed to be quite old, its behavior was very similar to that of a child, pushing past boundaries, claiming we are hostile when we're simply
Well,
trying
hold
to
on
remain as
there,
neutral as
Doctor.
possible.
Hold on. I don't think it did anything wrong. All it did was try to scan us. It's not like it tried to access our computers, and I don't think it called us hostile. It just implied that we weren't the friendliest thing that they've encountered.
It's still not behavior born of wisdom, I suppose.
Again, I would disagree. It seems to me that it was just doing what we would do in a situation with an unknown vessel. We would scan it. And we do that routinely all the time.
Didn't react when we scanned it earlier.
Well, to be fair, it was a very low power scan. If it is damaged as Commander Dotig supposes, it's possible it might not even be aware or capable of figuring out that we've scanned it.
I
And
still
to
think
keep
that
the
leaves us-
interesting things going, I'm going to spend 2 threat that Mr. Fives, you're seeing the launch of a missile. It's coming from the southern continent, but it is directed at the sphere.
I will put it on screen and try to do a scan of said missile.
All right, so this is going to be an extremely important roll. I need you to do me an insight and a security. The ship will assist you with a sensor security. The difficulty on this will be a 4.
I'll get the ship.
Okay, I will.
And you have full
spend-
momentum right now, so definitely use some.
I'll spend 3 momentum for 2 additional dice,
Okay?
and
Looks like the Congo's not going to help you, unfortunately.
is this gonna shipboard tactical systems qualify?
I'll give it to you. I mean, it's close enough to what you're doing.
Okay. And I'll actually challenge a value here.
Okay, what value are you challenging?
In Five's life, resistance has been futile, overcoming things. But in this case, resistance will not be futile.
Okay. And that will give you a point of determination, which you can spend immediately. Now, that would change your momentum spend. It would be 2 momentum for a 3rd dice. If you want to still roll 4 in addition to the determination, that would be 5 momentum.
2 momentum for a 3rd dice. Okay, then we'll take a momentum back, and I'll do 3 dice plus the determination.
All right. So we're starting with 2 successes. I will need to see 2 on your roll at the very least.
Ooh,
All right,
nice.
you get 5 total, so you actually get a momentum back. So, good news, bad news, Fives. Good news, it's not a nuke. The nukes were, as you figured out last time, those all left the planet. There are no more of those. However, the bad news is that that may not be a nuke, but you know an antimatter warhead when you see it. Now, this isn't like a photon torpedo level. This is more like photonic torpedo level. Like, we're talking NX, you could just hang out a window and shoot and do more damage kind of a thing. but it is still very much a technical weapon of mass destruction.
Captain, they've launched an antimatter missile at the weapon.
Can we get a transporter lock on, I don't know, its guidance system, anything to disrupt its function, cause it to... I'd rather not risk weapons fire.
Well, Captain, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I can't get a transporter lock on the thing. Whatever the hell the hull's made out of, it's blocking all sorts of scans. I think we're going to have to shoot it.
This is really putting that leave them to their own devices to the task, isn't it?
Well, times like this, I think of another old saying: "Don't poke the bear."
Fives, if you can't lock it in a tractor beam, shoot it down.
Arming phasers.
All right, so, Mr. Fives, another very important role here. Do you wish to attempt a tractor beam, or do you want to just shoot it?
I am going to shoot it.
Okay. In this instance, that is going to be a control security on your part. The Kongo will assist you with a weapons security. And unfortunately, the Kongo has phaser cannons, meaning that you would have to get within the atmosphere of the planet to shoot it. You do have photon and quantum micro torpedoes, which could also do the job from long range, or medium range, as it were. But either way, you're either exposing the ship or firing a very high-yield explosive towards a missile.
Can those yields be modified?
It will increase the difficulty, but yes.
Question, GM.
Yes.
If the missile was destroyed in the atmosphere, would there be any fallout over the oceans or over the landmass over which it's traveling, considering that antimatter radiation poisoning is a possibility?
I would say that would be something that Mr. Dotig would probably know. Which Dotig, we can either do a roll here to see if you want to get momentum, or you could just ask me as science officer.
Let's do a roll.
Okay. I want you to give me an insight in science, and the Kongo will assist you with a computers in science. The difficulty here is only a 2. All right, the Kongo does assist you.
Oh, Lord.
But it doesn't matter because apparently
Double
Dotig is
16s.
just not on his game right now. So Dotig,
hang on, hang on. There.
Oh, what you got?
We're gonna do
Determination.
We're gonna do determination.
Okay.
And for that, Dotig's gonna tap his value first. Do no harm.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and reroll those two d20s. Insight.
Both 16s is what you rolled previously.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, right?
All right. Well,
that's got the one.
You got your one, which with the Kongo assisting you, that is your 2 successes. So Dotig, what you're going to know is that you have a very narrow window in which to blow it up in such a way that it will not be over a major population center. However, if you blow it up with a torpedo, either photon or microquantum, you're going to cause an antimatter blowout in terms of radiation, which is even worse. So, yeah, your hands are getting tied very rapidly.
Can we just transport this thing into orbit?
Couldn't get a transporter lock.
Oh.
Yeah, the skin of the missile was preventing it.
Then, with that information, Lee would rescind his order and...
take her in.
Yeah, well, even the phasers probably would have a similar effect, if not as pronounced. So he would actually order the tractor beam.
Ooh.
It's fancy.
So, just so you know, before you commit to this course of action, the tractor beam would still necessitate you flying into the atmosphere and getting a lock. Though it would be far less explosive than phasers or torpedoes. So there's that.
So they're shooting the sphere, basically.
Correct.
So they obviously don't need it to survive.
It's probably one of the nation states that is not getting as much from the deal, so to speak.
Oh, so those political
that's my supposition out of character. I figure
Okay.
we'll figure out the truth of this once we deal with the missile.
Yeah.
I
I
need an
mean-
order given, or I'm going to spend threat and make more complications.
Yeah, then Lee would give that order to enter into the atmosphere and attempt to tractor the missile.
Prin, we need to get within 50,000 kilometers.
Is that all? You don't want 20? I could do that fairly easily.
Your discretion. Just get us closer. We have seconds.
Plenty
Activating
of time.
So we see the Congo diving towards the planet, and Prin does one of those maneuvers where on anything but a starship it would burn up on re-entry, but hey, you've got shielding and polarized hull plating and a whole bunch of other goodies that keep you from burning up an Atmo. But you swoop in over a population center, and I'm sure if they have the equivalent of cell phones, millions upon millions of Besant are now currently taking video of you. But what matters is the following roll from fives. Now, fives, this will be a control security on your part. The ship, if I remember my tractors correctly, will assist you with a weapons and engineering. I might be misremembering, but I think that's what it is.
I would like to roll my challenge dice for my previous roll.
Please do that. Yep, very important do. I will thank you in advance for the threat.
Yep,
You're welcome.
there we go.
Okay, hey, you
No
actually
threat.
got a momentum. There you go.
On momentum.
Very nice. Yeah, it's going to be a weapons engineering from the Congo. Or no, it's structure engineering from the Congo,
security.
which is still
Nice.
crit. You're still good.
Aces.
That's weapons engineering that I
Yeah,
rolled.
what you rolled is a 3, which would be a crit either way. So,
Okay.
now the difficulty here is a 5. So you would need to roll 3 more successes here, 5s in either.
I've got to roll 5s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So grab a few
Captain,
extra
you gonna
dice.
rally?
Energy
We're not in
weapons on
combat,
this,
never
ELH?
mind.
Say again.
Energy weapons on this?
No, tractor beam doesn't qualify as an energy weapon, unfortunately.
But shipboard tactical systems.
Shipboard tactical systems would, yes.
Okay. In this case, I will spend the 3 momentum for the 2 additional dice
Okay.
to roll 4. And then with my focus,
5 rolls 4.
5 by 5.
And
No
the pipe.
complications, hopefully.
Ooh, nice.
There you go. So that is a grand total of 6 successes, which means you get a momentum right back. So again, we see the Congo swooping in over the population center, and to the people on the surface, it's one of those worrying things where they just see a missile streaking overhead towards the sphere. But then a strange metal bird comes flying through that's almost minuscule compared to the sphere, emits a bluish energy that envelops the missile, and then the Congo banks up just enough to send the missile over the sphere as the Congo then exits atmosphere. And I'm assuming you just want to throw the warhead into the sun, maybe?
If possible, yes.
Okay. So we see the Congo just throw the missile into the sun, and I mean it doesn't
It'll
do
get there
anything
in
to
a
the
few
sun,
years.
but yeah. So that all happens, and we return to the bridge
It's well
after the explosion has happened.
Apologies for the thunder, by the way, even though that was, as
That was the
Aaron
explosion.
pointed out.
Oh
That
my
was
perfectly
god,
timed.
I thought that was a sound effect.
Yeah.
in
I'm going to
roll
take credit
20.
for it. You know what? Thank you. I'm going to take credit. Yes.
Great job, universe.
And at that point, Lee, slumping down in his chair, would order Fives to attempt to localize the power or the nation state that fired off that weapon, and the the governmental hub for the nation in which the sphere is actually located, and open hailing frequencies with both of them.
Tracing the energy signature to its point of origin and cross-referencing with social media and other news sites for anybody taking credit for this launch.
Now, what I would say is that after about 5 minutes of work, you think you have a comm frequency you can call these people on.
Captain, I've identified the nation state responsible, and I believe I've isolated a communications frequency that will allow us to directly contact representatives of their leadership.
Good job, Fives. Hardly the way I wanted to make first contact, but in a way we've already made it.
I
Put them
feel
on
obliged
screen.
to point out before we talk to them that the sphere accused us of being hostile, and then suddenly there was a situation in which we were forced to choose whether or not the sphere was spared. Just a note, sir.
Are you suggesting that it orchestrated these events in order to assess our disposition?
I would not make that claim, sir, but as Commander Dodig has pointed out time and again, I'm speculating.
Commander Dotig, I'd like you to review all sensor logs of the planet, the sphere, communication logs from the parties responsible for launching the missile. See if this was something that they attempted to orchestrate on their own, or if perhaps the sphere was able to communicate with them and test us.
Aye, Captain. And the deeply embedded nature of the sphere on this world would make that an assumption that is well within acceptable parameters for speculation.
Given that it's yoked to the entire planet through the power relays and the geothermal vents, that is well within its sphere of capabilities. Thank you, Doctor.
Tivna, can you tell me again when this sphere came into influence on this planet?
Roughly 353 days ago. Our calendar, anyway.
Thank
In
you.
the span of less than a year, they went from 21st century Earth equivalent to pre-Federation warp capable.
I almost wonder if this was an uplifting from another race.
Would be the second one, though the first one seemed a bit more amenable.
Regardless, gentlemen, Doctor, we don't really have time, or at least the people on this planet don't. They've seen us. That missile has been intercepted, and surely the military forces of this world are not simply going to sit idly by when alien spacecraft are raining from the sky. Unless there's something pressing, I think it's imperative that we contact them.
Aye, sir.
Fives will turn a passive sensor towards that warp-capable ship just to see if it's being mustered.
Yeah, see if it's powering up.
So, good news there. The warp-capable ship is quite literally still a wireframe, so it's not doing anything anytime soon.
Yeah, crazier things have happened.
But what I would tell you is that as you do scan the facility that is housing the wireframe, you do sense that, or at least you see on your sensors, that you're now being scanned by the space dock. And of course, you have the option of blocking it, much like you did the sphere, but they're definitely trying to scan you.
Yeah, and they took notes, Captain. The space station is passively scanning us.
Keep deeper operations of the ship concealed, but let them have a sense of who we are.
Understood, sir.
Captain, I know this is hardly the time or place, but what makes this difference from what the sphere was trying to do?
What's different, Commander, is that we learn from our mistakes.
Allowing low-level sensor scans. Well, they've taken a look. They're not hailing us.
I've accessed their telecom, sir. We can dial in anytime.
Should I call the ambassador to the bridge, Captain?
Out of character, Dag, would you like the ambassador to take the lead on this?
If we want to segue into the comical, no.
Okay. Then, Commander, I don't believe that will be necessary. He hasn't been briefed on this species and is largely unaware of the situation that's unfolding.
Very well.
Tivna, and not just because you're played by the GM, is there something that you know that we don't hear It seems like you're the preference that you're giving this sphere, which is literally grinding up biomatter that is alive, like, is very interesting to me, and I'm just curious what your opinion of all this is.
Oh, I think all of you are acting like paranoid imbeciles, but even though I have a differing opinion from all of you, most of it is in the realm of speculation. I mean, let's take what you said earlier, Mr. Fives. You said that this might be an act of Sphere trying to make us, choose sides, as it were, that the Sphere orchestrated all of this. What if it was just naturally something that young nation state or a fragile nation state lost its power, lost its daily communion with what they might view a god or a higher power, and I just don't see why all of you are being so paranoid. Obviously I'm a new member to this crew, relatively speaking, but I just feel like this is coming from somewhere that I didn't see coming.
Well, Commander, I appreciate your candor, at least.
Of course, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
The solution to all of our speculation is still to attempt to make contact. At your discretion, Captain.
Commander Datig, did you have a perspective that you wanted to share?
Well, I'm sure I do, Captain, but right now, as you said, time is of the essence.
Very good.
And I don't have time to explain my perspective to Commander Tibna.
Good, because I wasn't going to listen to you anyway, Commander.
Fair enough.
It's like they're best friends.
For Tellarites, perhaps, yes. Fives, put them on screen, if possible.
All right, so that we're very clear here, who are you putting on screen? Because I think initially you were going to do two at once, but that might have changed.
My understanding is that we are going to attempt to communicate with the leadership of the nation that launched the missile. Is that aligned with yours?
Okay. So,
Dialing in now, sir.
As you dial in and you get a hold of the individuals in question, what you're going to realize is that the communication is not video, but you are getting very clear audio. Interestingly, what you are noticing, Fives, is that the frequency they're using is very similar to that of the spheres. Now, it's not the same, but it's sort of like the difference between an FM station on our real life radio, where, maybe the sphere itself is like 97.3, and this nation state is like 106.7, kind of a thing. Just in case that factors into anything.
I will send that information via text to the captain's station and the commander's station, Commander Dottic.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, channel is open.
This is Captain Lee Tobin of the Federation starship Kongo. We are the vessel that intercepted the missile that you attempted to send towards the visitor, the artificial intelligence Gabriel. We did so, even though our intentions are entirely peaceful, and that we have come to this system on a mission of peaceful exploration, because we believe that it was our engagement with the sphere, a communication that we opened up with the artificial intelligence, that resulted in the disruption of your regular communication with it, and is in large part responsible for the destabilization of the political situation on your world. We would like to open up a dialogue with you so that we can avoid any further miscommunications.
It's going to be a presence command. Difficulty will be 5. Spend some threat. Complication range is going to be 17 to 20.
All right, let's see what I've got here. Diplomacy as a focus.
Yep. I'll take a look at your sheet too to help you out here. Let's see. You have diffused the tension, so that does give you an extra die already.
Augmented ability presence to get 1 free success.
Mm-hmm.
and
Though
cautious
if you
command.
use augmented, the complication range would be then 16 to 20, just so you know.
But I do have cautious command, so
This is true.
that will mitigate it slightly. And I'm just trying to think of how to use one of these values. I suppose, in light of the fact that sometimes the cost is too high, was inspired by Lee's recognition that exploration and basically adherence to the guiding principles of the Federation is sometimes antithetical to the safety of his crew, and he has to prioritize that over Starfleet protocol. In this moment, he's in a way intervening in the political affairs of this people, the internal affairs of this people, going against Starfleet protocol. So in that way, recognizing that the cost of adhering to Starfleet protocol would be too high, he's sort of ignoring it in favor of this moment.
Give it to you.
That was so forced. Okay, so 2 free successes on that, 1 free success on augmented ability presence, and I'll roll 3 dice by giving you 2 momentum.
It would actually be 3 momentum because you already have the determination counts as 1. You have 1 extra die from diffuse the tension. So technically you're rolling 4 dice with 3 momentum.
Okay. So presence command 3. Applicable focus. Yes.
All right. That is indeed 5 successes. However, 2 complications.
Well, I'll re-roll one of those using...
Cautious command. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let me just roll a d20.
All right.
Well, that's
that
2 successes.
actually gets you 2 momentum by my count. So, what that's going to mean is that the Basant on the other end does start to reply, but it's not exactly the most positive thing in the world. And what I mean by that is they come back and say, so you are alien invaders that have taken away the voice of reason from our planet. That is unacceptable.
I believe that you misunderstand our intentions on this world. We are not invaders. We have not engaged in any hostile act towards you. We've merely attempted to forestall hostilities between you and the sphere. And if the sphere is indeed, as you said, the voice of reason, certainly it would counsel you against rash action before you can consult it once again.
There's a really, really long pause. Like we're talking 1 to 2 minutes, unless you say something in that time. Question mark, do you?
I think after about 30 seconds, Lee would simply say, please help all of us to find a peaceful and mutually beneficial solution to this situation.
Complication that you rolled will be that the termination cuts off, or the transmission cuts off, you know what I'm trying to say. And at the same time, Mr. Fives, you're noticing that many, many, many silos are opening up all over the planet. And they're not shooting at you yet, but they are kind of pointing weapons at you.
Well, sir. And Fives will put on screen a highlight of major density of these silos. I think that's their response, sir.
Less than enthused.
Shall we go to Ryza?
I'd be happy if we backed off outside of their range.
Fives, judging from these missiles' construction, how fast are they? What speeds can they reach?
No more than the ICBMs on Earth 300 years ago.
Then, even if they do open fire on us, we should be able to back away without them posing any risk to us whatsoever.
True. The antimatter warhead yield is low enough that our shields could probably sustain 2 or 3 impacts, but after that, they're gonna
3,
dwindle
I think you think too lowly of our great shielding there, Mr. Fives. I know it can easily take 10.
I'll defer to Commander Tivna on that. But there are hundreds of silos opening up. And I would prefer not to wow these people by tanking their entire arsenal and then showing up over their leadership headquarters, sir.
Mr. Prynn, keep the vessel ready to go to warp in system if necessary. A micro warp jump should put us out of their range.
I'm gonna spend 2 threat that Mr. Prynn. That's all well and good, but you're noticing that unfortunately there is a very untimely ion storm that is now coming from the direction of the sun, which will render micro warp jumping not possible.
Captain, you recall that we encountered a Class 9 ion storm recently that gave the ship a little bit of trouble. What's that human expression about time being a flat circle? I think we're going through that right now, so I'm afraid a micro warp jump in the system will be impossible. Well, that's perfect.
This is great.
Commander Datig, your thoughts?
A metaphor. Perhaps this is the global socio-political equivalent of a Hasperat souffle deflating in the oven. And no matter how much you try to prop it up, you're just going to make it worse.
Well, to quote from a great captain, I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
Well, you're quoting a great captain who cheated on that test.
Commander, that just means that we have to find some way to cheat and get away with it.
And you finally said the magic words I have been waiting for the entire time, because you know it's coming at this point. There is a wonderful flash of light, and appearing before you on the bridge is none other than your very, very special brand of Q. And as she looks around and says, "Oh, you got a new ship. I kind of like it. I heard you wanted to cheat. Is that what I heard?" And that's where we're going to take our 5 to 10 minute break. So we'll be back shortly. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of Season 3, Episode 4, where the metaphorical ship has hit the fan, and it's gotten to the point where an entire planet of NX-level species is currently about to try and shoot the Kongo out of the sky with antimatter warheads. The sphere, which is apparently providing power, guiding maybe a religion, you're not sure. But anyway, the sphere that is providing many, many things to the planet has gone incommunicado. And if that wasn't bad enough, a Q has shown up, because why not? So we resume right at the moment as the Q appeared. And again, since it has been a while since she showed up, I will give a physical description. She has very immaculate golden horns that sort of curve. There's 4 of them. They curve such that they go behind her head and then come back out towards the front. She has an ashen skin, is wearing a evening dress of sorts with a fur overcoat. In essence, not the type of Q that Delancey shows up in every time he decides to make an appearance. But you do recognize her as your Q, quote unquote. In any event, she materializes, says what she says, and kind of looks around and goes, you know what, I like this. I like this one better. This one's nice and small, nice and quaint. Yeah, I like this one better. I do know you don't have the ingredients for a Ryzian sunrise aboard, though.
Permission to go to yellow alert now, Captain.
Permission granted, Fives. Q, we are really rather occupied at the moment, so if we could
I know. I've been watching
forego
the
any
entire
preamble.
time. The entire time. Mm-hmm. You made quite a mess there.
I don't deny that. Is there something that we can help you with?
Let's just say that this is one of those lovely moments in your development as a culture that one of us needs to be around to see.
And I guess, as is your tradition, you will not offer us any kind of directly advantageous information or an offer of assistance.
Well, that would defeat the point of your development. If I gave you the answers, well, wouldn't I just be what the sphere's doing? Wink.
Could I ask you a question?
You just did.
Very good. Listen, have you been watching us this whole time?
Since you arrived in system.
Okay, and you didn't feel the need to appear or to communicate. Can you go back to doing that?
Captain, has he gotten a little more ornery? I feel like he's gotten a little more ornery since since I was here last.
Actually, I found quite the opposite. It's likely just the stress. I empathize.
Oh, look. That one is going to be a problem, isn't it? And the complication in chat is going to be that a missile isn't launching towards you all, but you remember those retaliatory strikes you were speculating about during the break? Now there's a missile headed towards the nation state that launched the first missile. Might wanna handle that.
Fives?
Do we risk another intervention into their atmosphere, Captain?
Prepare to activate the tractor beam. But first, hail the nation state that we contacted originally. Inform them that we are now intervening on their behalf to intercept the missile that has been directed towards them.
Did we get the name of anybody that
Nope,
responded
no
there?
names have been exchanged.
This is the USS Kongo. You have a missile inbound. Please muster your defenses. We are going to intervene on your behalf. I repeat, this is the USS Kongo, and Fives will continue along that line.
Mr. Fives, did you just tell them to mobilize their armed forces?
If they have defenses, they're obviously beginning. Yes.
Well, that's going to be a fun light show. And now you're seeing more missiles from the First Nation state being launched at the missile incoming. So now there's kind of global thermonuclear war starting, but with antimatter warheads instead of actual nukes.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Captain, this all started because the sphere hailed us. We are not responsible, truthfully, for this, other than for observing a planet that's part of an exploratory mission. The sphere reached out to us
Doctor,
and missed its meeting.
Who's at fault at this juncture is really rather immaterial. Except for you, Fives. That was very poorly phrased. So...
If Dodig hadn't have said anything, the Q wouldn't have done this.
No, I haven't done anything. I'm just here watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so were we.
Let's just leave.
I need
We
options,
showed up at
people.
the party. The party got bad. We left the party.
GM,
Mm-hmm.
what type of targeting system do those missiles have?
Out of character, I'm drawing a blank on what actual missiles use, but it would be something analogous to our real-life ballistic missiles.
Okay. Is there a way that we could disrupt their targeting systems? And I mean, if they're ICBMs, sort of with that kind of range,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we may be able to theoretically get them all to just go up. They wouldn't really be able to leave the planet's gravity well, but then they'd be, pretty harmless up there until they, started to burn up.
I'm going to give it to you. but in order for me to give it to you, I'm going to need you to either paraphrase or read out what I just messaged you on Discord, and you'll have to do it in character.
All right. Just as long as you don't make me say that I like the cue. Just don't make me say
No,
that.
didn't do that.
Okay.
And this is you explaining your plan to everybody else in character, so... So, during that moment, I guess let me know when you're ready. But let me thank people who've subbed so far. So, of course, Soviet Menace, thank you for the 17 months. Fragilities, thank you for the follow.
Welcome. Okay. All right. I think I'm ready.
You ready? All right. Here we go.
All right, Captain. All right. I've scanned the missiles, and targeting system's really quite ingenious. Okay, the missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't. So if we subtract where it is from where it isn't, or where it isn't from where it is, whichever is greater, it obtains a difference or a deviation. The guidance system uses deviations to generate corrective commands to derive the missiles from a position where it is to a position where it isn't. And arriving at a position where it wasn't, it now is. Consequently, the position where it is now the position that it wasn't, and it follows that the position that it was is now the position that it isn't. So, in the event that the position that it is not the position that it wasn't, the system has acquired a variation, the variation being the difference between where the missile is and where it wasn't. If the variation is considered to be a significant factor, it too may be corrected by the GEA. However, the missile must also know where it was.
It just looks over at you and goes, I thought you got like a E- in engineering.
That was more physics than engineering, but I see where you're going with this, Commander. If we can alter its flight path so that it believes that it is where it used to be, so that it is no longer where it thinks it was, but it is now where it thinks it will be.
Precisely.
Is anyone actually capable of reprogramming that number of missiles in short order?
Tivna kind of coughs and goes, maybe if you ask nicely.
Who was it who hit me yesterday?
Fair enough, doing it. Doing it, Captain. All right, so Tivna, somebody's going to have to roll for Tivna here. This is going to be a daring engineering on her part. She is going to be assisted by the ship's communications and security. Difficulty of 5. She does have determination, talents, etc., so feel free to use all of those to your advantage.
Does this count as an activation for Tivna?
No, she is a full character, so she does not get activations.
Who's rolling for Tivna? Okay, I can roll for Tivna.
There you go.
You just volunteered by saying it.
Yeah, nope, I'm good.
I will say I don't believe in a no-win scenario. It does seem really rather apropos, considering that Lee drew on that quotation earlier on.
Did you say this was a daring engineering for Tivna?
It is.
Okay. And somebody got the ship?
Yep.
Nope.
Somebody, I think either Watney or Aaron should roll this one.
Oh, I'm not doing it.
All right. I guess
Tivna-
Watney has taken the lead. That is communications and security from the ship.
Tivna is going to use
Communicate outcomes.
targeted scans on this roll,
Mm-hmm.
and she's going to use determination. I don't believe in no-win scenarios.
Starts with 2 free successes, meaning I only need to see 1 success on whatever you roll.
Okay, and would anybody mind if I grabbed a momentum?
Oh, absolutely
Is
not.
it,
Go.
is it
It
two
would be
momentum
2.
now? 2
Go
momentum
for it.
now.
Do it.
Okay, I'll take 2
Mhm.
momentum for that third dice. Focus on, targeted scans. And so do you guys like your planets extra charred or no?
Blast.
Well,
I'm
that is
sorry,
a
I
grand
can't
total
deliver.
of 8 successes, so you get 3 momentum back. And yes, in a masterful display of system awareness, computer hacking, and everything Tivna's always been good at, if anybody actually knows where she's from originally. Case in point, Tivna does it in less than 30 seconds, which is actually kind of scary, all things considered. But after a moment, all those missiles flying at each other just sort of go straight up, go space shuttle, and fly into the atmosphere and out into space where they detonate harmlessly.
So are there any strays?
No, I got them all.
I'm doing another planetary scan to see how many silos remain unopened, Captain.
Oh, I helped out too.
Wait, so we really did tank their entire arsenal?
Yep.
All right.
You were very
Take
clear.
note.
I should make sure that nobody should fire any more missiles. So yeah.
Remind me never to give you access to my cortical node.
Didn't want to anyway.
Wait, what's that tingling?
Exceptional work, Commander. At least one of us knows what she's doing.
Well, I
Captain,
still say sorry about the whole slap thing, but yes, every once in a while I do have my skills.
we have to move very quickly. With the major strategic and standoff weapons neutralized, these nation-states will likely revert to conventional warfare to settle whatever slights, perceived or otherwise, have been visited upon them.
Captain, I'm forced to kind of agree with Commander Dodig on moving quickly. I think we should issue an apology and leave. I think what we just witnessed here was something the Sphere was trying to prevent. Given the abundance of missiles that they've already put together, I think the Sphere came here to stop the war that was brewing between these people. And it called for a sacrifice of people, but not as many that would die in war. In World War III on Earth, 600 million people died. Maybe this is its way of finding a balance.
Mr. Fives, I've never been one to embrace consequentialism as a moral philosophy. Moreover, if what we've seen of these people and their propensity towards violence is any indication, uplifting them and gifting them the ability to construct the warheads that we've just seen employed, the antimatter weapons, starships capable of reaching other civilizations, seems to be an inordinately foolish decision, particularly when it's being made by an artificial intelligence that has no idea where it comes from, is driven by desires it can't articulate or understand, and has the emotional intelligence of an infant.
Understood, sir.
I need some way to get in contact with that sphere, that artificial intelligence. Is there any way that we can penetrate that polyneutronic alloy? I know that it's centuries ahead of us. It's the same kind of technology that they used in the 29th century that was responsible for the creation of the Voyager Doctor's mobile emitter. But there must be something that we can do. Some means of subverting it or getting inside so that we can actually converse with the person or entity that's responsible for all of this.
Well,
GM?
all right. If you ask nicely, I will help, but
Oh.
this is the only help you're going to get, says Q. But you only get to send one, Captain, and they're going to have to talk on their own.
I'm surprised that you'd be willing to assist us, Q.
Oh, this isn't so much assisting as it is saving you a few extra steps. Besides, this is the good part. I want to see it happen.
So, in character, Lee is certainly going to pursue this option unless somebody else has another plan that they would like to implement. But I'd like to just discuss this on the meta level for a moment,
for it.
if that's all right
Go
with
for it.
everyone. Is that a course of action that you're all comfortable with?
Ives was just about to offer his cortical array.
Now, the only thing I'd say on that is you guys did take the time to set up something special with that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But that
Yeah,
does
but
mean that Fives is the one talking.
There also could be people injured in the sphere itself. I mean, not that that's of any consequence.
I mean,
also, I
if
don't
Q's
think
planning
Wells
on-
was diplomatic person ever. So
If Q's planning on like teleporting us into the sphere,
Just one of you, yes.
oh,
That's
Yeah.
the question. Who gets sent?
I would vote for the captain, that guy in that corner up there.
To me, you're pointing at Dante.
yeah.
but-
I would say like you made the sphere. The captain made the sphere pause for a moment, and I think the captain probably has the chops to get whatever he's looking for.
The captain has the character sheet for it. He might not have the
He's the
player's
chops.
disposition for it.
Chops.
stop it.
Oh,
And
stop
the other
yeah,
thing
that's
is,
the easy part.
I don't want to steal all the spotlight because I've done a lot of talking. So if somebody else
Oh,
wants to take it on,
oh.
I'm willing to let you have the spotlight in this moment because I think your character is fit for this purpose.
I talk a
But-
lot anyway.
I also think it'd be fun to do the optical thing with fives and a lull. The fives went. So that's really like rule of cool. That's what I go with.
I need
Also,
an
he's
answer,
like the most
unfortunately.
like he's the most not more than Lee really, but like kind of sort of with like, hey, these people are being subjugated and killed.
I was gonna say Sandoval.
I'm just gonna take myself out of consideration so we can make this decision
right.
faster.
what I'll
Same.
say then is, because it's so thematically appropriate,
Hmm.
I'm going to give Fives my determination. Just throw that out at him. Actually, I
Okay.
don't have it, so I can't do that. So,
Could always challenge a value and then give it to him.
yeah, but I don't know how to challenge a value in this context.
I know that I don't have the diplomatic chops for this.
You
I'm
assume
just
it's
gonna
diplomacy.
Say that. Yep, I do. Unless I go down there and it's celebrity death match.
Well, you can always threaten it using security. All right,
You
then.
want to take a plunk at me?
To resolve it, if everyone's okay with it, then I guess Lee will go, because that just seems to
Sure.
make the most sense.
Fine.
Back in character.
Mhm.
Very well, Q. I appreciate your assistance, and the next time we pass by Beef Face October, I'll make sure to pick up an appropriate recipe for a rising and sunrise.
Holds up her fingers. Snaps. Captain, you're no longer on the bridge anymore. You are in what appears to be a large, open, spherical space with many cablings and other sorts of wires that come and feed in to an obelisk that is rectangular prism in nature, stands maybe about 20 meters tall, and its surface is full of glowing circuitry, if it matters, in orange color. And as you stop and look around the space, what you realize is that some of these cables are quite large, in fact, as in they are potentially feeding the same cables you saw coming from the sphere proper. You're also noticing that there are a few alcoves in which there are some Basant that are hooked up like the Matrix, aka human batteries or Basant batteries in this instance. But as you materialize, what is it you do? What is it you choose to do?
I'd like to examine the facility. I mean, is there any set of controls, any access ports outside of the individuals who are yoked to the machine?
There are, but it is in an alien language that the Universal Translator does not handle.
Then, turning towards that central monolith, Lee, somewhat trepidatiously, simply say, "Am I addressing the artificial intelligence Gabriel?"
The orange circuitry turns to blue. And again, in that same omnipresent, echoey, old man tired of the world voice, says, "This is why I terminated connection with you. It was a mistake to contact you. And now the Basant are going to kill themselves."
That's an incredibly fatalistic outlook on this situation. There must be something that we can do with everything that you've already done for them, with everything that you have at your disposal, and with us. There must be a course of action that we can take.
I find it interesting. During our first conversation, you were very mistrustful of me. But now here you are asking my assistance solving a problem that you created.
If you'll forgive me, you've created this problem. You gave these people technologies for which they were completely unprepared, and you've exacerbated the conflict that will result. This planet was a powder keg and you've thrown gunpowder on it. But I'm not here to assign blame. I'm not here to seek some kind of retribution against you for your mistakes. And I think that you, although you have your complaints against me, should not do the same. Right
Presence
now,
command difficulty 5.
we need a solution. Okay. I'll use my two talents. Would diffuse the tension apply here?
No, because it's not going to attack you, so you don't get diffuse the tension on this one.
I'll still use augmented ability presence to get a free success.
All right.
And does that count as an extra die?
It does.
Okay.
Or no, augmented doesn't, no.
Then I'll give you 3.
For 4 dice total? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Presence command. 4 dice with 1 free success. Double focus.
That is 6 successes. So you get a momentum back. I believe you're at 2 momentum overall at this point. Yep. So the obelisk pulsates a little bit, much how the avatar of the eye pulsated. It comes back and says, and there's that pause. I'm not just pausing for dramatic effect. Well, I am, but you claim to be a higher power. You claim that you're not a god. And yet you throw blame where it is not warranted. I will solve your problem for you. You will not like it, but you are powerless to stop me, unless, of course, you wish to destroy a sentient entity. You may view it as juvenile. You may view it as irrational. But I see no other option. And as it says that, one by one, the hundreds of thousands of cables that are connected to this obelisk begin to pop off, hissing, as if it is starting to disengage from the planet.
What is it that you intend to do?
As you said, this is a powder keg. It was always going to blow. It was foolish of me to intercede and attempt to save children that were playing with something they shouldn't. I've learned a very valuable lesson this day.
That doesn't answer my question.
No, it doesn't. Now they're cables. At this point, they're starting to get a little bit more rapidly.
Do I have any kind of communication outside of the sphere?
You do.
Lead of the Congo, what is the sphere doing?
Jim, would we recognize that it's going to disengage?
Oh yeah, power output is coming away, or the power output from the sphere is rapidly decreasing. Cables are detaching. It's not good.
Captain, this is Commander Datig. It appears that the sphere is disengaging itself from the planetary power grid. Levels of energy are dropping rapidly. The physical cables connecting the sphere to the planet have begun to disengage. It may be leaving them.
And Lee would just shake his head towards the obelisk. What is it that you intend to do? How is this a plan to solve the mess that together we've created?
Some messes can't be cleaned up.
Why did
Unless,
you originally
of course,
come
you
to
would
this
wish
planet?
to say that you would take stewardship over this people.
What is it that you want from this planet? Why did you come here? Why did you do all of this?
As I said, I came here as an act of benevolence to stop a creature, an entity, a culture from eradicating itself, as I have done countless times before.
So the opposite of the Prime Directive.
This entire endeavor of yours is sheer folly. And it's borne out by the consequences of your actions here.
And I think with that, unless you want to say anything else, question mark?
No,
Captain,
I don't believe so.
There are Bissant, I don't know how you say it, Bissant,
Basant, yeah.
still in that sphere that it is taking off with.
What do you intend to do with all these people?
They will sustain me long enough until I arrive at another planet that is in need of salvation. Only this time, I will warn them of a federation that it seeks to impose its will upon others, to keep them down, to prevent them of development.
You have a radically skewed perspective on the universe, and I pity you.
And I think at that, flash a light, you rematerialize back on the bridge exactly where you left.
And Lee is going to stalk over to his command chair, drop down into it. Fives?
Sir.
Tactical assessment on that sphere.
Checking now, sir.
Enough quantum micros would do it.
Can you identify the central power core to the vessel?
Yes, sir.
Take us to red alert.
Aye. Red alert.
Captain, you're not seriously thinking of firing on that sphere.
If possible, I intend to disable it and to rescue the people that it is attempting to kidnap.
What happened down there, Captain?
Something for a report and for a future conversation, Mr. Fives.
And I think Q at this point just sort of tuts and goes, I guess you weren't ready. And then Q just snaps her fingers and vanishes from the bridge.
Mr. Dotig, if you object to this course of action, this is your opportunity to make clear, for the record, your position.
Sir, I object in the strongest possible way. And if what you're considering is an attack on this creature, then I will be forced to relieve you of command.
Tivna looks at you, Dotig. As will I, sir.
Your justification, Commander? What regulation is being violated? At this moment, we have encountered a vessel that intends to abscond with literally thousands of civilians from this planet. It is a marauding raider that ravages the worlds that it encounters, and I intend to stop it.
By what basis do you call it a marauder? As far as we've been able to tell, it uplifted this society and kept it from blowing itself up.
That
Technically, Tivna caused it to not blow itself up. Commander.
I agree that it is by our standards, distasteful. But the moral authority is not ours to judge it.
The vessel's rising into its lower atmosphere, Captain.
Captain, I judge you to be of sound mind. But I cannot disapprove more.
So all of you are just going to permit it to abscond with 10,000 helpless patients, prisoners, people who against their will have been forced into this charnel house and turned into objects, slaves, for an alien force that imposed itself on this planet. Now I ask you, if we stop that from ever happening on any other world, what regulation is being violated?
Hypnos sighs deeply and says, "Very well, Captain. I'll make it easy for you." She taps a few buttons. You now have a shiny red button on your command chair that you can push the button if you want to, Captain. Just know, though, sir, if you do push that button, I'm not just going to slap you. But it is your ultimate call to make here, sir.
Those people were already trapped within that sphere prior to its escape from this planet. Firing upon that sphere is just, it just seems like an act of hostility, not an act with any, to what end?
The end, Doctor, is to disable that sphere and rescue the people who are being held upon it, if possible. Out of character, GM. Based on its capabilities, its structure, what we've been able to glean from our sensor scans, would it be possible, with perhaps strong enough rolls, to disable it and attempt to rescue the people who are on board it?
It would be one of those rare moments where I would call for a difficulty 6 roll, but yes, it is possible, possibly not probable.
Alternatively, would it be possible for Fives to surreptitiously use his cortical node to establish contact with it and then try to convince it to retake its place on this population? And then I will attempt to convince the captain to let it do its thing, because the better we know about it, the more we can warn the Federation.
Yeah, you know what? I'll let it happen. There will be a complication later, but I'll let it happen. So Fives, while the senior staff are bickering, you at your station open up your cortical node, get in contact with the entity known as Gabriel. What is it you say?
My people are not as thoughtful in these matters as in others. I will try to convince them otherwise. I was wrong about you. I think that your place among these people was right, based on what I understand of history and the way people treat each other here. If you will take your place back among these people, I will work with my people to leave you alone. And perhaps one day we can encounter each other on a level playing field.
Mr. Fives, perhaps the most important role you will ever make of this campaign. I want you to just roll me 5d20. I don't want you to tie it to any. I don't want you to tie it to any focuses. I don't want it to tie to any abilities you have. I just want to see 5d20. All right. The response comes back. It will take time to reconnect. Several days. That's all it says.
Did it terminate the transmission?
Still open.
What is needed?
It is nothing you can provide. However, your captain sees things as black and white, as do I. It will take some convincing.
Fives will encrypt a channel and send a text message to the leadership communication platforms
Mm-hmm.
saying that the entity is going to take a few days to reintegrate with its societies and to stand down at all costs.
Now here's where that complication comes into play.
Damn it.
Everybody but the captain gets that.
I wasn't going to send it to anybody on the ship. It was to.
Oh, I see.
the
You mean down
nation-state
there. I thought
leadership.
you meant
Yeah.
like the leadership stations on the
No.
ship. Okay,
No,
okay.
no.
That-
I meant the
makes more
nation-state's
sense.
leaders.
Okay,
My
okay.
apologies.
So that you can do. Then the complication there is that fives, as you send that using your cortical node, you sort of get really, really lightheaded, about to pass out. It's one of those situations where if Alel is paying attention to you at all, she can catch you before you fall out of your chair.
She runs across the room.
Yeah. Captain, we need to leave now.
Five.
And fives
Fives,
will
what
fall
happened?
into Alel's arms.
So she'll obviously catch him, but sir, like, if this thing goes back there, nothing we've done will have changed anything. It's still feeding off of the vulnerable population on that planet. We have to offer it some kind of organic fuel to sustain it, so it's doesn't need to be such a parasitic relationship.
Alel, it's gonna be okay. Just go.
Captain.
Lee would order something that is going to completely circumvent everything that you've done, Dag. So I'm going to ask you out of character.
Yes.
Are you okay with that?
Conflict. Elmo with fire in the background.
I will take that as a yes. Okay. Mr. Prynne, take the tactical station. Target the sphere's power systems. Try to disable it.
I'm going to need Tivna to roll against Prynne here. Lee, of course, you're going to be rolling for Prynne. Somebody else can roll for Tivna.
I mean, Datig was actually going to snap in there with a belay that.
Oh, that works too. Carry on.
Nice.
Mr. Prynne, set course out of the system. Prepare priority 1 message to Starfleet Command. Captain.
I find myself in a rather interesting position here because I don't know how this is going to play out, so I'm not going to follow either of those orders until the situation is resolved. I'll just be watching.
Captain, I'd like to see you in your ready room.
And this is a question to Prynne, but it's actually directed to the GM. How much longer is that ship going to be in a position where we could fire upon it without potentially damaging the planet or the like? Is there a time frame on this or a limit on the time that we have to act?
You have 7 real-life minutes, meaning that at the top of the hour, what happens, happens.
All right, then he would order Datig into the ready room as quickly as possible. Commander, you have 5 minutes.
I only need 1. You need to relieve yourself of duty now.
You need to go to your
cannot-
quarters, Commander.
We cannot permit this course of action. We cannot willfully harm a creature. We were discussing mere hours ago whether or not to even intervene. And suddenly, after making contact with the sphere, you come back bent on maiming essentially a living creature.
I intend to injure a creature in order to save 10,000 others that it is preying upon, just as we would any other violent predator. And that is exactly what we're dealing with. A self-righteous creature that it has made itself the arbiter of morality in this galaxy, and is a threat not only to all the worlds that it encounters, but to the Federation as well.
Captain, you are the arbiter of morality right now. You're taking that mantle upon yourself, and if you're not careful, it will destroy you.
It's not the first time that it's just nearly destroyed me, Doctor. But I forgot, you're not a doctor anymore, are you?
Neither are you.
No. I'm the captain of the ship, and you're its first officer.
Captain, I won't let you do it.
You can't stop me, Natek.
Then I won't be a part of it.
You don't have to be.
Yeah, Datig will nod and leave the ready room and leave the bridge.
All right.
And Lee would return to the bridge and order Alel to try to get Fives on his feet, if possible.
All right. I think Watney's having technical issues at the moment, but we can assume that, Alel. Oh, she's back.
She is.
Maybe.
She said in our chat too.
I'm so sorry. I
you're
don't know
fine.
if you can hear me.
Now
Yep,
you can actually
we can hear.
order her. Carry on. What were you going to say? What is your order to Alel as you return to the bridge?
Quickly. Quickly,
Is Fives fit for duty?
She would have been tending to him if he was still out of it.
He can push buttons, yes.
Okay.
Fives,
Captain.
I'd like you to target the sphere's power systems and disable it.
Fives will go to the weapons console.
Belay that order, says Commander Tivno. Captain, I've only had to do this twice in my career, but unfortunately, she points her phaser type 1 at you. I can't let this go on any further. You're a danger not only to yourself, to the Basant, to this entire crew. You are not acting rationally. You are not acting as the individual I signed up to be a chief engineer under. So I'm going to ask nicely. Relieve yourself of duty. We'll fly away from this planet. We won't have to court-martial anybody. Well, maybe the fleet admiral will anyway. Who knows what the hell she thinks half the time. But we won't have to play this game of cat and mouse. Now, out of character.
Under what professional medical opinion, Commander Tivna, are you making these suppositions about the captain?
You mean why I judge him to be of unsound mind?
Yes. He's making a command decision. Might be different from what you would have made, but it's his decision.
So you're just going to ignore the increased paranoia, the sudden god complex that the captain's displaying?
If there is anyone suited to be making these calls on this ship, it is me. Do you disagree?
Yes.
Fives is secretly disabling the photon torpedo and quantum torpedo initializers.
Good job, Fives. I knew somebody would.
Just
You're
So,
welcome
Tivna?
to disagree, Tivna. And that's as far as it goes.
I suppose that puts us at an impasse now, doesn't it?
No impact.
Uh-oh.
Cap duty.
Fives, open fire.
Captain, our torpedo and phaser systems are offline. I can't trace what happened here.
You have 30 seconds of real time.
It looks like
left.
someone has
Pulse
locked the
phasers.
initializers.
Get us, Mr. Prin, get us within firing distance of the pulse phasers. Fives. Well, fire.
Fives will initiate an overload in the pulse phasers and blow up the pulse phasers.
Oh my god.
And the time has passed, so the Kongo does try to open fire, backfires tremendously, and at this point, the sphere has passed the point of no return.
Oh no. Oh, I was really
Captain,
rooting for you.
It's clear that someone on the ship has sabotaged our systems.
Well, I would
Security
take
on
credit,
it right
says
away.
Tivna, but I've been pointing this phaser at people, so... Well, I guess now that that's resolved, I'm just going to go ahead and see myself to the brig. Have fun, Captain. And she escorts herself to the brig.
Fives will go with her.
Leaving Dr. Allel, Ensign Prin, Ensign Abadis, and Captain Lee on the bridge.
You know, Doctor? He looks down at the chair. I think this chair is just as uncomfortable as the one we replaced. Mr. Prin, take us out of the system.
And now I know I promised I'd give you guys time to do more scenes, but this does feel like a thematic moment to end. Plus, we are sort of running over, so I'll just leave that as an option. Do you want to have additional scenes, probably pushing another 30 minutes, or do you just want to end the episode there?
I think that's where we end.
The
Okay.
tension is ripe. It's so good right now.
Okay, but we have to revisit it.
Oh, we're not getting away with this.
So what I'm hearing is this is where we'll call it. All right. So, because this was such a charged episode, I'm going to do what I usually don't do as a GM and give you the correct answer. But don't let this color what you have.
There was a correct answer.
There was a correct answer, yes.
There's always a correct answer.
There always is, yes. So, of course, do not let this color your in-character perceptions of what the hell just happened. Which, by the way, well done, everybody. Well done, well done. I think it really speaks to the fact that we could have roleplay like that without actually being mad at each other out of character. I think
Not
that
the least.
speaks.
Are
that
you
speaks
kidding? That
volumes.
was awesome.
Yeah,
That
like
was
that was great.
Holy gosh.
And I know
That
Dear
reminds
Wolf,
me
like
of,
Dear
like,
Wolf,
Fenrir
I'm
so
only
much.
telling them this because I think it's prudent in this situation. It's one of those things where it's better for me to tell you this now than it is to wait for a court-martial episode and for me to drop it on them then, because
I
that
just
just
wanna
wouldn't be
point out
playing
that-
fair.
I'm just going to point out that Chad says we should keep it a secret.
All
I don't know
right,
if that's going to color your impression of it. I'd love to know.
Perhaps
So-
we should save that for after the stream then.
Yes.
Ah,
There we go.
you guys
Or
don't get to
split the
know. Only
difference.
we get to know.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah, chat,
Lee
you
is the
played
consummate
yourself.
diplomat here. So he has found
Yes.
the proper solution that you know,
Cowboy diplomacy. it's cowboy diplomacy. That's what it
Now Chad's like, no, wait. Like, that's exactly what we said to the spear, isn't it?
is. It's a good drill.
Here's what's going to happen. I think next week is going to be a court-martial episode no matter what the hell we do.
No!
Oh, come on! Don't make me do that again.
We need to have we need to hash this out on the way back. We need to have like the beginning of Star Trek 3 where the ship is like a house where all the children gone. Kind of a moment. We need to play this
Well-
out for the people.
All right,
love it.
I'm not going to reveal the secret because now I have to do a court-martial episode, which is fun. I don't mind doing them. I think they're fun to do, even if Aaron hates doing them. You don't have to do it, Aaron, if you don't want to do it. You don't have to prosecute or defend it.
Of course I'll
No.
do it.
No.
All right. Well,
I
YouTube,
wanted to
hopefully
know
you guys
so
had
bad.
fun. Twitch, I know you were having a blast, but YouTube, this is where we're going to say goodbye. But Twitch, stick around because we're going to find something to raid. But YouTube, see you later.